Here in Ontario, Canada, the progressive conservative candidate for the premiership of the province of Ontario has declared his intention to try to sell off the OLGC, or the Ontario Lottery Gaming Corporation. This is the state lottery company that brings in a great deal of money to the province. Now, what he said he would like to do instead is have that body serve as regulation of private business to do the same function. Now, these are his reasons why. The government runs basically top to bottom lotteries, casinos, and gambling across the province of Ontario. I think that people would rather see an investment in MRI scans, not buying new roulette wheels and owning slot machines. We actually have the bureaucrats who spend their days in cubicles deciding how many slot machines to have in a casino, where they're actually going to go on the floor, how many pit bosses we have. We have bureaucrats who decide what's better for a scratch and win ticket: Keno, Battleship, or Sudoku. Now this, along with some other information, is set to come out as the Conservatives have released their new white paper, which they call a new deal for the public sector, which also includes this: to focus government on the core services that matters most to taxpayers, creating a leaner public service that delivers more value for less money. In actuality, this plan makes no sense whatsoever. Why would you take a state-run enterprise that makes a lot of money, is extremely profitable, and then sell it off? It's a completely economically irrational move. I mean, the taxes on companies that are going to do the lottery are less than the direct profits that we would actually receive from it as a state-owned enterprise. We would actually be having less money. What they want is a huge lump sum by selling off its assets to private companies. However, in the long run, we will have more money by keeping it with us and then taking the dividends which it pays out from. It's economically irrational to tax something that is already state-owned that would make more money than the taxes on private businesses doing it. Now, what he's trying to do here is drum up the image of big government. That's why he kept saying a bureaucrat decides this, a bureaucrat decides that. Well, those bureaucrats are making the state money. And as for the statement that they decide how many slot machines and where they go on the floor, I don't actually think that's actually true. I think the actual casino owners are the ones who do that. Now, it's the image of big government that he's trying to put out on everybody. This idea there's a big, scary, wasteful state apparatus taking our money. Well, actually, no. The OLGC is one of the most profitable things in the entire country. It makes a hell of a lot of money for the state. And yes, there are bureaucrats in private companies as well. They're not voted into the position that they have. They are hired by their bosses. So either way, there's going to be some unelected person doing that job. And the person doing that job will be generating revenue for a private company or the state company, which actually pays for healthcare and education. So this is an economically irrational idea by Tim Hudak. Get less money to pay for the services that we have now? Well, why not we keep the level of funding we have and not decrease it? What this is a typical short-sightedness of capitalism. What they are aiming for is a big gain immediately while completely screwing any kind of long-term planning or realization. Now, we witnessed this with the global economic collapse of capitalism in 2008, which is mostly derived from companies seeking immediate huge gains while not considering what would happen in the future. The subprime mortgages were exactly that. Get as many loans out as fast as possible. Loan to these people, get their money. Well, as a part of that huge collapse, it didn't pay off because they didn't put much consideration into what would happen into the future. And that's one of the irrationalities of capitalism. It doesn't care about what happens down the line. It only cares about immediate profit making at this very moment, which is an inherent weakness within the system. Now, this same kind of thing was done previously. When the government owned 51% shares in the company Petro-Canada, they were sold off, and sold off during a price boom. Who sells an oil company in the middle of a price boom? You're making a lot of money during that time because of oil prices, and then it was sold off. And now we have less revenue than we did before. The privatization, or at least in the case of Petro-Canada, a majority government-owned majority shares in a company, getting rid of them was a stupid idea. I mean, this is the same thing that we're facing right now with the OLGC. This plan by Tim Hudak is completely ridiculous and is counter to common sense, which I assume he's taking from the common sense revolution brought forward by the conservatives under Mike Harris. And then we unfortunately had to return to the nonsensical practice of adequately funding healthcare and education. So, and to finish all this off, listening to a conservative talk about how we need to properly fund healthcare and education is absolutely ridiculous. Conservatives have only ever done the opposite. It damage and harm healthcare and education. Tim Hudak, don't do it. I hope to God you are never elected.